But again, I don't see an SUV, so it's like you invert the OPSEC. You invert it. It's like, well, I don't know. So again, I don't see an SUV. So if anything, that's the actual. Well, clearly, as we know, you could do the good old back alley trick. You know. But again, I'm 90% sure that's his RFK's place because it matches the Google. Because again, for RFK, there's not like a news article that lays it out, but you Google enough, and you'll see a random Zillow listing, and the Zillow listing has the front of the house, and you can compare the house next to it to that house, and it's like the door frame matches. Okay, I'll take it. So I'm 90% sure that's RFK. I don't think RFK is a Napoleon guy. So, you know, you've got that confirmation. So, again, it's the small things that you figure out. So again, those are two of the three in Georgetown. Again, Lutnick is somewhere out over yonder. I don't really care that much about the guys on TV so much, you know. I know the Lutnick. I can buy his son's crypto thing. Quite literally. So as you can tell from all these houses, you know, you can't really get. So I'm sure there's a back out. Like, you know, there's like a courtyard on the inside, but because the picture has a courtyard, but you can't really get to it. Where do we want to walk? Yeah, we can walk down. Excuse me. But yeah. So again, you think about where the 100 most important Americans would live. You know, Georgetown. This probably fits the bill, right? Colonialist. You know, like always like you think of like old school colonial Williamsburg and that type of feel. I don't know. This probably, you know, sidewalks are a bit scuffed because of how old the trees are, right? It's one of those things, right? It's the same way, again, like you have a Twitter account from 10 years ago, and that just has more credibility than a Twitter account from that was made yesterday, right? It's like, well, which one's a bot, do you think? Probably not the one from 10 years ago, or it's only discounted much more. Right? So the same thing, there's signs of legitimacy. And so like how old a tree is probably a decent sign of legitimacy. The FT had an article about the Dow becoming part of the Spanish royalty. And like, you know, as soon as I read the article, I'm like, man, I understand why people in 1800s, I understand that Republican traditions, like of republicanism and like I never felt like I truly understood Robespierre until I read the article. And I'm like, now I get Robespierre. Yeah, I get the idea. You know, just reading like it is so archaic, you know. Just reading the article and the fact that it still persisted to this day. You know, and the Spanish taxpayers funding the government office that handles like those royalty claims and it's a horrible thing to have enough knowledge, however loose, of insurance that I feel the need to clarify that I don't mean royalty claims in a literal practical sense. But in the sense that there's literally a government office, the article's listed out, to handle and process and determine like legal matters. So, you know, what can you do? again, I don't know. Again, I vaguely show my political sympathies or leanings in these. Again, I don't think I'm not commenting on real issues, contemporary issues, but I'm just laying out my generic sympathies and leanings. But again, you read the article, you read the FT piece about Nadal joining the crown or the royalty, and it just comes out like so archaic. Like the title is like you're Prince of Mallorca or something. I was like, come on, bro. Like it's so. Again, like you do see the appeal of why you'd want to be in the crown. It's like, I don't know, having a royal title. That sounds pretty good, pretty cool. You know? But I do think the article ended in a nice way where it's like the Spanish royalty need Nadal more than theoretically Nadal needed to join the royalty. But again, it does show. But at the end of the day, like royalty, Spanish royalty system is over 5 centuries old. So it is like, you can borrow that legitimacy if you want. If you want. But oh, there we go. I guess so here's the park, and we can probably loop our way back to DuPont's. I'm not sure if I want to wander more. It might be raining this evening, so I won't do my evening walk. So I should probably do my 10K, my glorious many steps. I don't know. There's a joke about like the walk maxing, or like the joke about the walker. It's like, the joke is like walking can help fix any issue, any challenge you have in life. It's like, yeah, I get that. It's certainly my only it's certainly my coping mechanism, I will say the joke is like, in my head, I think of like, I have like a couple of defense mechanisms if I'm ever down, but you can only use a defense mechanism as like, you can only pop it once, You only get one get out of jail free card, And so for me, it's like, I don't know, alcoholism. That's a good get out of jail free card, to change things up. So alcoholism is one. You could also do, I don't know, maybe that's a bit much. Maybe I could become a Zen guy. It was so funny. So I think I remember sitting in the, was it history class? It was like it was history class, but not like a generic history class about like Greek civilization or something. It was a bit more specific. It was a bit broader, which I appreciated. And you read stuff like mechanical, like that famous piece about the age of mechanical reproduction, which is actually, I thought was a bit generic, or just copy paste, or like not that interesting. But it turns out it actually gets referenced a lot, and is actually like a seminal piece of writing on contemporary reality, which I greatly appreciate. So I remember I'm in that class. I remember sitting there, and a guy two rows in front of me is popping Zins. I'm like, cause I think I remember, like back in 2022 or something, I saw TikToks of like, I don't know, like girls in Sweden or something popping Zins. But you always want to discount your reality versus somebody else's. It's like, so I had a latent understanding of Zen, or recognition of Zen. or just the idea of like those tobacco things. And frankly, I should have known because of it. If the leading indicator is like, you know, cute Swedish girls popping, oh, looky here, Qatar defense attaché, random things. Again, the utility of walking around and just noticing things. The walker and noticer. What a good, what a great combo. So I should have known, like, if cute Swedish girls were using these like tobacco things you put in your mouth, I should have known, and I saw it on my TikTok feed. Like, you could probably connect the dots and argue that there's some signal there for Zyn and these tobacco things, you know, gaining in prominence or utility or popularity. You know, which you could have had if you want. I did not. So that was 2022. And so seeing the guy popping Zyns in 2024 in that history class is like, huh, you're popping Zyns. And again, I'm not fully educated. I haven't done, I know, yeah, like the safety warning and all that. But again, I don't know. Yeah, you know, inspired by RFK, you know, in that sense, you know, it's like, who are you to tell me what I can pop or not pop? But I remember, but the thing that turned me, and so the broader point is, I was looking at, you know, I had some cash in my IRA that I needed to deploy, and so I was looking at something, and that would have been, yeah. So I guess I felt a bit miffed at the market rebounding without me. So anyways, so the point, I was looking at things with like some yield, just so I can like, you know, I'll get my principal back in 25 years, I can call it a day, that type of thing. And so I remember looking, I was like, I owned an Indonesian tobacco company and a Japanese tobacco company. You know, so again, take my my moral lecturing with a grain of salt. Although I don't own any defense companies in the US, I do own some European ones. It would be so funny if I owned, it'd be so funny if I owned like that, because when China unveiled its like fifth or sixth generation fighter, like one of the Chinese defense companies popped. The company actually had a pretty cool name in my view. It was like Chengdu something. Anyway, like the point is like it popped. So it would be so funny. It's like, you know, again, just the point of like, you know, me and my moral virtues. I own I don't own U.S. defense contractors, but I will own Chengdu, and I will own, gosh, what's European? Not Rheinmetall. Rheinmetall, I kicked myself. Oh, well, I kicked myself for Rheinmetall. But, gosh, what's your, I think, well, I guess you could say Rolls Royce is loosely a defense in the sense of like dual use. There's a smaller French one. Again, like these aren't big positions, and there's certainly not ones I keep up with. But anyways, the joke is, I won't own a U.S. defense contractor, but European ones, A-okay. Again, it would be so funny if I did own like Chengdu fighter maker. That'd give me so many kicks. That'd be so amusing. Yeah, it'd probably be held up as evidence. That statement would come back to bite me at some point. Probably. Yeah. But again, what can you do? I just want to compound at a reasonable IRR. You know. Oh, Cybertruck. Yeah. We always debate if Cybertrucks are actually cool or not. I've come to the conclusion that they are actually somewhat transgressive and therefore interesting in that sense. Or to the degree to which fashion is just like trying to make a statement passively. And then it's, you know, you are making a statement passively. So who am I to say? Okay. Yeah. So to get in Georgetown, you basically have 3 different bridges. 2 bridges lead from DuPont. Those are nice bridges. You know, perfectly walkable and enjoyable. But you have the K Street Bridge, which is like more direct from the White House and the Farragut. And that bridge is terrible, or it's just not pleasant, because it's literally, I don't want to say highway, but it is actually a highway. It literally is like it's not an interchange, but there's a little thing. I'm not going to read. Something about Canada. But on the K Street Road into Georgetown, there's literally a mini interchange down there. And so you do have a nice dynamic if you like. The same way in Chicago, you have the subway that's elevated, and that can create an iconic aesthetic of like the tracks going above, or just like you're underneath something. So you do have that dynamic. But otherwise, it is grungy, and I'll probably do it at some point. I'll probably do another, Bessent. Again, I'm 90% sure that's RFK. Clearly not that interesting. So I'll do Bessent another day at some point. And I'll loop around and take the K Street to show again the wonders of all of it. Now over here is a pretty nice library. Now the funny thing, it never amused me. If you want the funniest or just most like a Tale of Two Cities site in DC, what you need to do, you need to go to the MLK library in downtown. So reasonably close to Metro Center. Due to my trip. Oh gosh. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Yeah, that guy over there. That was like a statue for a moment, but yeah. So West End Library. Again, it's only 1 floor, so I forget what's on top of it. I assume it wouldn't be residential, I guess. Maybe it could be. But it is a very nice library, but it'll never amuse me, or fail to amuse me. For some reason, there is no homeless here, but if you go to the MLK library, and you go to the corner of MLK, the corner of MLK, so on the east corner, and so on the other side of the street is a restaurant. And you just stand in the corner and you just look, because it'll literally be the entire side of MLK Library is homeless tents, or are homeless tents. Like, literally, the entire thing are homeless tents. While, you know, they're on the other side of the street. It's a nice, it's a higher end restaurant. You know, like the Chick-fil-A for the plebs is down, is like a block over. You know, the restaurant by MLK is a nice restaurant. And so I don't know why. Is it the bushes that dissuade the homeless? It's like, because it's not, this is probably, it's 1 mile difference. So, I will say, of course, on the National Guard news in DC and all of that. So I remember walking by MLK like 2 weeks ago, walking by it, like, there were no homeless. So it's like, huh. Maybe the National Guard did something and we resolved a reasonable issue. But I walked by like last weekend, it's like, yeah, there's no difference. So it really is all performative. This is the short of it. But nice while it lasts. Right, I don't know. Again, it is funny because, like, if you're a parent, you know, libraries have the room for kids, and it's like, well, you know, because it's kids, right? You kind of want it to be on the first floor for, you know, scooters, strollers, I should say. And well, it turns out, if the entire window is, you know, again, the idea is not to disparage the unhoused, but it's just the fact that clearly the state has failed the individual, or the individual has failed the individual. But again, it's like the library is a public good, right? And, you know, as somebody who I don't think, like, I'm not dependent on public goods, right? But all things equal, I probably rely on public goods more than, say, I don't know, Bessent or whatnot, or Zuckerberg, right? Because again, they have tremendous private goods. By, you know, it's all relative. I don't. So, I rely on public goods. And so, right, public goods are a collective. And, you know, people pay different amounts into the public good. And, well, if the homeless degrade the value of public goods, then naturally people will start to wonder why they pay for public goods. And so, like, that chips away at the willingness and enthusiasm to pay for public goods, which, you know, ends up hurting. Or, like, A, it degrades public goods, and then B, it degrades the willingness of people to pay for public goods. And so in that sense, and by extension, the very public goods that could be allocated to, you know, handle the homeless in a more direct fashion. So it's, anyways, that's my rant. Just my observations, my musings. About these things. You know, discount appropriately. But again, back to the amusing part of walking around DC, like, I don't know, I walked for an hour. I went from very sleepy parts of Georgetown to here, which, you know, like, it's not Manhattan, but, you know, it loosely feels like, you know, more density and all of that, right? As you can see, right? You know, that's where you got a nice little chain steakhouse. I do need to improve the camera work. Gosh, why is it? Right. Yeah, nice little chain coffee shops that try to not look chain coffee shop. Like, man, Like, ain't this the city? Yeah. Again, I don't know, I just find it enjoyable. The same way in New York City, you can go from financial districts, and in like 1 or 2 train rides, you can get to some crappy part in the Bronx or something. Or you can take the train all the way out to Greenwich or whatnot. Or some crappy part of Connecticut. Yeah. So the joke is, you know, there's probably a crappy place everywhere. And the question is, do you live in the crappy place? It's like, well, it's all relative, ain't it? Look at that. Nice. Microphone. Maybe my audio is blocked. But so I'm not sure if you can hear it, but look at that. Nice new housing. Always good. Is my microphone blocked? That's annoying. It's very annoying. Is my hand blocking it? I don't know. Yeah. So I just rambled about my microphone being blocked. I think my hand was just covering it. Sorry. Oh, look at that. Look at that liquor store. Speaking of alcoholism, it is great that you can become a... I guess never one of those. Yeah. I will say, like if you're doing a PR campaign, the masks are not helping you. You know, aren't the shiesties what the youth wear? But all I know is I have a prediction market. I will ICE ban the mask. I have taken the no. So I need ICE to, you know, not learn PR. And I will make 10%. I'll make 10 cents on 90 cents. And boom. There goes that fixes my P&L slightly. And it's like, oh my gosh. I'm gonna lose a decent chunk, like 2%, 200 bips on Stephen Moran being appointed. As again, like, I refuse to put in the effort to understand congressional bylaws and timing. And so pretty much, unless Moran is appointed or voted on in 2 weeks, I am cooked. I'll explain it in more detail later, but the point is, I slowly chip away at the P&L and fixing it, and I give it all back. Look at that cop run the light. So as somebody smarter than me said, it's the disappointing recognition that there's no reality but this one that's possible. It's like, yeah. Probably. Do I have any other melancholic bangers? The melancholy of a time that was coming, but now inevitably feels like it's going. The greatest form of misogyny is homosexuality. Not quite sure if I appreciate a joke, but you know, if I steal all of my witty one-liners from online, then you have to take the good with the bad. Take the good ones with the bad ones. Look at that. Again, just in one video, again, not walking very fast. We go from humble Georgetown over to here. Which again, I don't know, kind of cool in the marginal sense, you know. I don't think it's cool, but you take what you can get. But it certainly has a nice walking trip. Like it is not a bad loop in the grand scheme of things. Should we do a quick fit check in here? There it is. Look at that. Look at Ross Singh. Nice little gambling sponsor, Bessent. On the back. It is funny how the FT had an article about how gambling sponsors have changed over time. So nowadays, pretty much, gambling sponsors or the only sponsors are gambling sponsors, effectively. And so, of course, the question is well, why would that be? What would you get out of having a gambling sponsor? And naturally, it's what audience you're targeting, whether it's international audience or whatever. And then, so for this Argentina, Racing Club, it is a gambling sponsor on the front, but on the back, it's Tetragar, which is an energy company. I respect that. A gambling company and energy company. The same way YPF was and so the same way that for the Argentina national team training jersey, there it was again a very humorous dynamic. There's a nice Citibank branch. Probably one of the better performing banks year to date. Which has a Citibank shareholder and at price to book. Let's go. Yeah, we'll take that. I'll take any multiple expansion any day. But yeah, so it is nice that but so on that Argentina one, the sponsors were YPF, Binance, and Coca-Cola, which is such a good mix, right? Unironically. It's what brands want to advertise and associate themselves with the Argentine national football team, which is, in the grand scheme of things, probably one of the more marketable and universally respected national teams. And it's yeah, Coca-Cola, makes sense. Binance, okay. YPF, yeah, we're gonna beat the court case with this one, guys. But so anyways, that was a loop from DuPont to Georgetown to Farragut. Along the way, of course, Scott Bessent, and I'm pretty sure RFK's house.